Commander Jakar's three eyes widened in disbelief as he watched the security feed from the station's main cafeteria. What he witnessed defied every tactical manual, every xenobiological study, and every shred of common sense he had accumulated over his 40 cycles of military service. A human, the station's newly assigned cultural liaison, Dr. Sarah Chen, walked calmly through the corridor with 6 Vexarian younglings padding behind her in perfect single file. The Vexarians, apex predators from a death world where survival meant clawing your way to the top of the food chain before your second molting. Their adults stood 8 feet tall, possessed retractable claws that could shred duralloy plating, and had been banned from 17 sectors after the incident on Proxima Station. And their cubs were following a human, willingly. "Replay that section," Jakar commanded, his mandibles clicking nervously. The security officer, a young Trilaxian named Pip, rewound the footage with trembling tentacles. "Sir, I've checked 3 times. There's no coercion, no pheromone manipulation, no neural dampeners. They're just following her." On screen, Dr. Chen paused at the cafeteria entrance and turned to face her unusual entourage. The 6 Vexarian cubs, each already the size of a full-grown earth wolf, sat down simultaneously. Their tails, covered in razor-sharp quills, curled neatly around their haunches. Their glowing amber eyes focused intently on the human with an expression that Jakar could only describe as attentive. Dr. Chen said something, her lips moving soundlessly in the recording. All 6 cubs tilted their heads in unison. Then one by one, they each lifted a forepaw in what appeared to be some kind of salute. "Ancestors preserve us," Jakar muttered. "She's trained them." The Vexarian ambassador, Lady Shiratha, had warned them 3 weeks ago when she arrived with her 6 offspring. "Keep your distance," she had growled, her vocal cords producing a sound that made even the station's structural supports vibrate. "They are at the age of hunting curiosity. They will test boundaries. They will seek prey. Do not provoke them, and above all, do not attempt to discipline them. Only Vexarian adults may do so without triggering their predatory response." Every species on the station had complied. Corridors were cleared when the cubs ventured out for their daily constitutional. The cafeteria staff prepared their meals separately and left them outside their quarters. Even the Krellian security force, themselves no strangers to violence, had requested reassignment to other sectors. Everyone avoided the Vexarian cubs, everyone except Dr. Sarah Chen. Jakar watched the footage continue. Dr. Chen entered the cafeteria, and the cubs remained seated outside, perfectly still except for the occasional twitch of their ear flaps. She emerged moments later carrying a large tray laden with food. Not the specialized protein matrices required by Vexarian physiology, but rather an assortment of items from her own meal allocation. She sat down on a bench outside the cafeteria. The cubs remained in their line, waiting. Dr. Chen broke off a piece of what appeared to be some kind of earth bread and held it up. The first cub in line stood, approached with measured steps, took the offering gently between its teeth and returned to its position before consuming the food. Then the second cub approached. Then the third. "She's feeding apex predators by hand," Pip whispered, his voice filled with awe and terror. "Sir, should we alert medical? Prepare trauma teams?" Jakar couldn't answer. He was too mesmerized by what he was witnessing. Each cub approached with discipline that would make a parade ground sergeant weep with joy. Each waited its turn. Each took the offering with surprising gentleness. And each returned to formation before enjoying its reward. When the last cub had been fed, Dr. Chen stood and brushed off her hands. She said something else and all 6 cubs stood in unison. She began walking toward the recreation sector, and they fell into line behind her. Not in the hunting formation that had been described in the xenobiological briefings, but in a perfect single file evenly spaced, their movements synchronized. Jakar pulled up Dr. Chen's personnel file. Human, female, age 32 Earth Standard years. Background in animal behavioral psychology with a specialty in, he had to translate the term, positive reinforcement training methodologies. Previous assignments, Earth's lunar colonies, the Terra-Mars shuttle program, and the Centauri agricultural stations. Nothing in her file suggested she had experience with apex predators from death worlds. Nothing explained what he was seeing. A proximity alarm chimed. Shakar looked up to see Lady Sharatha herself entering the command center. The Vexarian ambassador had to duck through the doorway despite the fact it was built to accommodate beings twice his own height. "Commander," she rumbled, her translator rendering her speech into galactic standard, "I have observed the human female interacting with my offspring." Shakar braced himself for the diplomatic incident he'd been dreading. "Ambassador, I assure you, we had protocols in place to prevent—" "She has done what 3 generations of Vexarian child masters could not achieve," Sharatha interrupted, her quills laying flat against her spine in a gesture Shakar's database identified as profound respect. "She has taught them discipline without dominance, control without fear. They follow her not because they must, but because they wish to." The ambassador moved closer to the screen, watching her cubs follow the human through the recreation sector. Other species scrambled out of the way, but the cubs paid them no attention, their focus solely on Dr. Chen. "How?" Shakar asked simply. Sharatha's lips pulled back, revealing rows of crystalline teeth in what might have been a smile. "You have heard of humanity's death world, yes? Earth? Of course. Class 7 danger rating. Remarkable that they achieved space travel despite—" "They did not merely survive their death world, Commander. They thrived upon it. And do you know how?" Sharatha's eyes gleamed with something that might have been admiration. "They befriended its predators. Creatures that should have hunted them, they turned into companions. They call them dogs and cats and 100 other names. For tens of thousands of years, humans have practiced the art of turning predators into partners." Shakar looked back at the screen, where Dr. Chen had stopped to adjust something on one cub's harness while the others waited patiently. The image suddenly crystallized into perfect clarity. "They domesticated their world," he said softly. "Yes," Sharatha agreed. "And now it seems they will do the same to the stars. My cubs have learned more about pack behavior in 3 weeks with the human than in all their previous development cycles. They understand hierarchy without violence, cooperation without coercion. When they return to Vexar, they will be the first of a new generation." She turned to leave, then paused. "The humans have a saying, Commander. Dr. Chen taught it to me. It is not the strongest who survive nor the most intelligent, but those most adaptable to change. We Vexarians have been strong for millennia, but we have not changed. Perhaps it is time we learned from those who have." As the ambassador departed, Shakar watched Dr. Chen and her unusual entourage disappear around a corner. The cubs still walked in perfect formation, soldiers following their general, predators who had found something more compelling than prey. He made a note in his log. Request additional human cultural liaisons for station assignment. Recommended specialty, animal behavioral psychology. Justification, they can do what the rest of the galaxy thought impossible. He paused, then added one more line. Humanity, it seems, has been preparing for the stars far longer than we realized. They just needed the right audience.